more. Cool. Okay, so this is my Adopt Peer String Tech lesson for spring of 2017. And today I'm going to teach my friend Julius how to hold the cello and the bow. And we're also going to learn the notes for a D major scale and get into playing the D major scale. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to hold the cello. And you're going to pick it up. And you're gonna just like put it between your knees with the rock stop, and angle it so that it's like the top of it's kind of laying on your stomach or your chest, and that your hand is about close to eye level.
Yeah.
Is that comfortable? Does it feel weird?
No, I think it's okay.
Cool. So that's how you hold the cello. It's kind of nice if you don't really know if you're holding it correctly. If you like kind of give it a hug, it should be like pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
So, just like double check it that way. Cool. So next we're gonna talk about the bow, and we'll come back to the instrument so you can just lay it down.
Okay.
There. Okay, so on the bow, you have your hairs, then you have the stick itself. You have the... No. No. Screw. I don't remember what the screw is called. But just the screw.
Isn't it called a nut?
No.
No, that's a nut.
The nut is like at the top of that.
That's a frog. That's a frog, right?
This is the frog, yeah. This is the ferrule.
The tightening screw. I have no idea.
I'll just throw this in iMovie and edit it. I'll edit out this part. I'm gonna figure out. Oh, it's in.
I literally said, he was like, like, where? I was like, oh, recall.
Frog. It's just the end screw. Good lord.
Cool.
Alright, so we'll end up editing this.
The more you know.
Alright. Okay, so the important parts that you need to know are the hairs, the bow stick itself, and then you have the winding screw down here, which you're going to turn clockwise to tighten the hairs, and you can watch them like tighten and move less. And you don't want to tighten it like too much. You want the top of the bow to kind of angle down towards the hair, and the hair to be straight. If both of them are straight, then you've tightened it too much, and you need to loosen it a little bit more. But it's just enough so that the bows have some the hair has some tension on it. And then every time you finish, you need to loosen the hairs before you put it away, so that you don't damage them, or that they're not as easily breakable. So I'm gonna let you tighten that and show me like where you would stop.
Like this?
So if you can see, I don't know if you can see it in here, but for this, he tightened it a little bit too much, so you can see like this is perfectly straight and the hair is perfectly straight.
Oh,
so you want a little bit of a bend in the bow, so loosen up just a little bit. Yeah, that's much better. So you see like the bend in the bow there. Okay, cool, awesome. So now I'm going to show you how to hold the bow. So what you want to do is you want to grab right here, and you want to put your thumb at the opening of the frog, which is this part. Your middle finger should be opposite of it. Your pointer finger should just kind of be relaxed on the bow, as well as this ring finger. And then your pinky should hang over a little bit. It shouldn't be on top of the bow. If you were playing violin or viola, you would want it on top of the bow, but you want it to hang over to give you some leverage for that. And to kind of check, you can like itsy bitsy spider up the bow, and then like go back down to double check just the way that your hand feels on the bow. So I'll let you do that. Yeah. Does that feel... It feels kind of weird at first.
Yeah.
As I don't, like... I know when I first held it, like, it felt like I didn't have, like, enough, like, grip or, like, control. So kind of go... what we like to do is to open the gate and close the gate. And you'll do this when you're putting the bow on the strings. But just keep it open like that and then fold it down. And then open. And just do that a couple times to kind of grasp, like, how much tension you have to... Or how much of a grip you have to control it.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so now I will take that back, and we're going to apply this to holding the instrument. So if you pick up the cello and hold it the way that I showed you how to hold it. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to show you how to pluck the strings before we use the bow on the strings. So I'll show you the notes for the scale that we're going to do, and we're lucky that this cello has tape on it, so it'll be easier to find the notes. But we're just going to use the D string and the A string, which are the two highest strings, so these ones that are farthest away from your face. And you're going to be about, and where the tape is, you're going to be about 3 inches down from the top is where your first note's going to be. So can you place your finger of your left hand there? And then come down here and find the string that you're on with your right hand. And when you pluck, you want your hand to be kind of angled downward a little bit and use like this part of your finger to pluck as opposed to like where your nail is to get a better sound out of it. And then you want to pluck a little bit up here into the fingerboard. Yeah.
We did?
Yeah. Okay. So what are you hearing when that happens?
It's like stopped. The sound is stopped.
Yeah. So if you hear the sound being like stopped or choked, then you need to push your finger down on your left hand more. You need to push the string down and have a little more pressure on it. Yeah. Yeah. So for that resonant sound, if you ever hear it being choked, then you know, like, oh, I need to press down harder with my left hand. It takes a little bit of effort to push the strings down. So the next note we're going to do, so that's D. The next note we're going to do is E. And it's going to be your third finger, and it's going to be on that net set of tape right there.
Right there.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the next is F sharp. So you're going to use your pinky, and you're going to be on the same string, and go... It's a bit of a stretch, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and then the next part of the scale is going to be on the string over. It's the exact same finger pattern. It's just on the next string over. So move your left hand over to the next string and do the open string first. So you do A, and then B, C sharp, and then D. Yeah, good job. Do you want to like go back to the go back to, you can either like go back down or start from the beginning of the scale again, and like I want you to go through it on your own and try and figure out how much pressure you need to get a sound for each one. That sounds really good. The tone, as far as everything goes, sounds really good. Cool. So now we're going to move to holding the bow and using the bow on the strings. So I want you to show me how to hold the bow again. Mm-hmm. That's good. And then I want you to do the windshield wiper thing or the opening and closing the gate. And I want you to close the gate on the strings. Okay, and for cellists, you angle the bow downward a little bit, so you'll tilt this part up. And the easiest way to remember this is if you flip the bow up, like open the gate, and then flip it over so it's parallel the other direction. If you turn your hand outward a little bit,
yeah,
and then flip it all the way back over, that's where it should be. So we want to do that again. And then flip it over. Yeah, so the strings, the hair is just slightly angled down, so you can kind of see more of the stick than you can see of the hairs. So I want you to just take a second and like run the bow across the strings and see what it sounds like. And you can go to like the other strings too if you want. Yeah, that's really good. So you are applying really good pressure right now as far as the bow on the strings. Typically, people who don't, I want you to like do it again, but don't push down as much. Like just kind of be lighter about it. Yeah, so that squealing is typical of a lot of people who first start because they don't put enough pressure on the strings in the first place. But you had really good pressure, so that was awesome. As far as going across the strings, it's more of kind of like a half moon pattern. So don't think of yourself going straight across the strings. Think of it as more of a half of a circle. That way you'll be able to play strings individually and you won't have them overlap each other unless you like want them to. So I want you to put your finger up where the D is. That was a trick question.
Oh, I was like, wait.
So yeah, there's no fingers down on D because this is the D string, so you won't have to put any of your fingers down.
Okay.
And I want you to play the D. Good. So now like go up the scale, just on your own time, and figure out what you need to do to get each of them to sound. Yeah, that sounded really good. I liked that at the top of the scale, you like overshot the high D and you pulled it back down a little bit, so that was good that you can hear that tuning. And then as you got to the higher string, you were getting a little bit of that squeaky, but you kind of like pushed down a little bit more. So good for you for adjusting and hearing that and adjusting to it. So I'll give you a tempo, and I want you to do it in quarter notes.
Okay.
Just tell me if it's too fast. 1, 2, ready, and... Go back down. Cool. Let's do it one more time, and then when you finish, especially since you finished on an up bow, so going away from your hand, give it, like, finish, like, strongly. Like, don't, like, just kind of, like, push and then stop. So, like, push and lift off the strings. Okay? I'll do it again. 1, 2, ready, and... Yeah, good job! Awesome. Cool. All right.